You have to have some kind of common goal. You absolutely do. Now, without a common goal, you don't know where you're going. Now, where we run into trouble in a team or in the political environment we're in right now is there's different ways to get to that goal, right? There's different ways to get to that goal. I mean, I don't...
A group projection of all of their negative qualities and all of their garbage and all of their mistakes and all of their failings onto one target. The scapegoat, the black sheep, the fall guy, the bad guy, the villain.
Hello, today is October 15th, 2018, and the time is just after 1 a.m. And again, I'm very tired. I survived another weekend, and it's becoming more and more difficult. You'd think it'd be becoming easier, but I do have prayers that comfort me, and I know for some of you that might seem like nonsense, but whatever. And I did doze off, and usually when I doze off or I do get to sleep, I have wicked nightmares from all this that I've been going through, primarily since May 4th, 2013. Yeah, I dozed off earlier, and I just woke up all, I don't know even how to describe it, put into words, but this is how my life's been for years now as I'm dealing with this injustice. I've said in one or two other videos, my longer ones, how this feels like since I've come out here, it's been like the Twilight Zone for me. It's as if everything that people are expecting me to be for some reason, and wherever this expectation comes from, I don't know. But everything from, well, let me just sum it up in immoral and criminal. And again, I don't know where all this comes from. I've suggested CPIC, and in fact there's evidence that information on CPIC has been misunderstood throughout my life, which I get. And it's like no matter, coming out here, it's like no matter what I say or do, it's immediately taken the wrong way, and it's beyond me. I can not try and just be myself, boom, it's somehow twisted. If I try extra hard, it's boom, twisted. It's just I don't know. I've examined society. I've examined the condition of society right now, and how we're at the end of civilization. I mean, I'm not the only person going through this type of thing. I can only speak for myself, but I do recognize there's countless of other people going through injustices and everything else. And I've also examined, the human element to all this. I've done videos talking about beta male and females wanting to be equal to the alpha male and females, and what happens when say a beta is in a position of authority, meets an alpha. But even at that, it doesn't, I mean, there's different levels of, say, alphas. I mean, there's always going to be someone in any situation that may be just inherently more dominant without being disrespectful to the other. So, I mean, I've discussed all these other things, and, with regards to the now former officer and his partner who's still an officer, I've said that they're just human beings. Anybody in any profession, whatever it is, they're just human beings, just trying to muddle their way through life like anyone else. I've also addressed, the issue where I had a friend of mine who is ex-law enforcement, comes from a family of law enforcement, and they said that it's not the individual, for example, a police officer, that you can't trust. It's the overall system that can't be trusted. So I've examined and I've discussed many layers of my situation and presenting it to society as a whole and some of the issues. By no means is this a retraction to anything that I've said. And over the years, and my being a human being as well, there's some videos where you see the anger, the frustration come through very strongly, and I've said things that, I look back and maybe that was unfair to say, or maybe I was a bit insulting, whatever, I apologize for that. And then through all this, I did a video where I clearly said that, I forgive everyone who's done me wrong in this situation. So you see an evolution throughout my videos, and now my videos are just simply showing the human side, my human side of what I'm going through mentally, and it's very difficult. Now, this kind of leads into two other videos that I came across earlier this evening, and I've put some thought into it. And one of the videos, and I'm just going to use very short clips, and I'm going to kind of expand on this a little bit. One of the videos is by Ben Shapiro, interviewing a guy by the name of Jocko. And I'm not critiquing it or anything, but I have a lot of respect for this particular interview, enough that I want to include this into my video. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go just listen to that little clip, and then I'm just going to give a few words to it. So there's two parts that I want to get into with the now former officer. So just give a listen.
Okay, so we talked about taking extreme responsibility. What are some of the other attributes of leaders that you look for?
Well, humility is obviously
Right.
the big one. You got to be humble. If you're not humble, then that's going to be problematic. Now, what's interesting, new book that just came out is Dichotomy of Leadership. And what does that mean? That means that as a leader, you have to be balanced, right? You have to be balanced. So let's just take humility and ego, because we're looking for people that are humble. But at the same time, you can have someone that's so humble that they lack confidence. That's bad. On the other side of that spectrum, you can have someone that's so confident that they're overconfident, their ego's big, and they don't listen to anyone else. Where do you want to be? You want to be balanced, somewhere in the middle. I talked about the fact that you need to be articulate.
So what I want to do is just expand on this, and this by no means is this a diss to anyone, but I would like to, as I said, tie this in with this former officer. And that night on May 4th, 2013, I honestly was trying to de-escalate the situation from the moment that he arrived, and when he turned to his partner and said, "Yeah, that's," and that was all I was able to hear, put me in I reacted as a normal human being, like, what do you mean? Like, in my head, I'm thinking that, and everything that transpired. So one of the points this gentleman here has said is the ability to listen to others. Now, I've also said that this officer was extremely emotionally charged when he first started interacting with me. And he's a human being. His perceptions were completely skewed. Everything, everything was completely skewed. Like, again, no matter what he thought he saw or what I said or did, it didn't matter. So when we're talking about leadership or people in authority, having that balance. And unfortunately, that officer, former officer, didn't have balance that night. The other thing that this gentleman was talking about is communication. And he goes on about communication, but again, there was a communication breakdown on May 4th, 2013. I was trying, under this, the seconds that I had, to word craft my words in real time. You gotta remember, life is happening in real time. It's easy to go back even years later and say, well, you know, shouldn't have said this, shouldn't have said that, or, you know, being judged by it or not, whatever. You know, the communication had broken down. I was trying to reestablish it from my perspective as best as I could. Unfortunately, the former officer was too emotionally charged to go along with it. And even my second lawyer had indirectly had mentioned that. So we're all human beings. So let's go on to this next clip. And the final video clips I would like to use just to refer to is done by the amazing Polly, and this one is about scapegoats and smear campaigns and the urge to defend yourself. And this video really, really struck a chord with me. And I'm not the type of person to be lost for words, but I'm lost for words with this video. And there's a few key points here that I would simply like to highlight.
But there's a trap there if you try to defend yourself too vociferously. The thing is that it plays right into the hands of the people who make you the scapegoat. It's like they already thought of it. It's like your defense is built in to their offense. It's part of it. Like the fish caught in the net, the harder you struggle, the more entangled you become.
So in this video, she's talking about, she's sharing a personal story in her life, and she's talking about feeling compelled to defend yourself. And when I'm listening to this, I'm like, this really hits home for me, because as she says, it's a lose-lose situation. You don't defend yourself, you get screwed, and if you do defend yourself, you get screwed. So two different ways of that happening. So this really, really struck home for me with what she's saying here. Now, towards the end of the video, she talks about people who get to know you and don't listen to the rumors or the gossip or the false narratives or anything else, and they realize whatever they heard is wrong. And, you know, the people that I've talked to, and unfortunately, it always happened too late, but the people who got to know me, like my second lawyer had said to me right at the end before I let him go, and we were going up against impossible odds. He said, you know, you're nothing like what, and I forget the exact words, but you're nothing like whatever he heard about me or being investigated for, which is all fine, but it wasn't helping me. And then I had the this fourth lawyer. He said some peculiar things, but for example, one of the things he said, he goes, you know, I don't think you're crazy or anything. I don't get that from you. You're actually very much the opposite. You know, thinking clearly, I'm articulate and stuff. And you know, when I look back and I think, well, my feeling compelled to defend myself and do everything I did with letters to all and my videos and the stress that I'm under. Now, there's a difference between, being crazy, using that as a generic term, as a descriptive, and the post-traumatic stress that I'm dealing with constantly. There's a difference. But, I mean, when people have gotten to know me, they're like, you're nothing what this Twilight Zone situation that I find myself in. And so that's basically all I want to talk about with these videos. Both video links are in the description box below. They're worth watching. Completely two different types of videos with two different objectives, but both well worth listening to. There's good messages in both of them. Anyway, this is all I want to share for now, and I hope everyone is doing well, and peace to you all. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.